Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. England marches with Scotland. The act of marching, walking with regular steps, especially in a procession of some kind. It was a long march. The month following February and preceding April. March in a procession. Walk ostentatiously. A degree granted for the successful completion of advanced study of architecture. District consisting of the area on either side of a border or boundary of a country or an area. The Welsh marches between England and Wales. Genre of music written for marching. Sousa wrote the best marches. March in protest. Take part in a demonstration. A procession of people walking together. The march went up Fifth Avenue. A steady advance. The march of science. Cause to march or go at a marching pace. They marched the mules into the desert. Force to march. The Japanese marched their prisoners through Manchuria. Walk fast, with regular or measured steps. Walk with a stride. He marched into the classroom and announced the exam. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. Canada adjoins the U.S. Be in direct physical contact with. Make contact. Attach or add. I adjoin a copy of my lawyer's letter. Form the boundary of. Be contiguous to. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. Extend on all sides of simultaneously. Encircle. A decorative recessed or relieved surface on an edge. Provide with a border or edge. A line that indicates a boundary. Enclose in or as if in a frame. The boundary of a surface. The boundary line or the area immediately inside the boundary. A strip forming the outer edge of something. The rug had a wide blue border. A victim of ridicule or pranks. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. A joint made by fastening ends together without overlapping. Finely ground tobacco wrapped in paper, for smoking. Thick end of the handle. The fleshy part of the human body that you sit on. He deserves a good kick in the butt. To strike, thrust or shove against. He butted his sister out of the way. The small unused part of something, especially the end of a cigarette that is left after smoking. Sports equipment consisting of an object set up for a marksman or archer to aim at. A large cask, especially one holding a volume equivalent to 2 hogsheads or 126 gallons. Place end to end without overlapping. The frames must be butted at the joints. The part of a plant from which the roots spring or the part of a stalk or trunk nearest the roots. Collide violently with an obstacle. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. The attribute of urgency in tone of voice. His voice had an edge to it. Lie adjacent to another or share a boundary. Advance slowly, as if by inches. He edged towards the car. Provide with a border or edge. Edge the tablecloth with embroidery. The boundary of a surface. A line determining the limits of an area. A sharp side formed by the intersection of two surfaces of an object. He rounded the edges of the box. A slight competitive advantage. He had an edge on the competition. Provide with an edge. Edge a blade. The outside limit of an object or area or surface. A place farthest away from the center of something. The edge of the leaf is wavy. The act of marching, walking with regular steps, especially in a procession of some kind. We heard the sound of marching. A mark or flaw that spoils the appearance of something, especially on a person's body. Make imperfect. Nothing marred her beauty. The month following February and preceding April. Destroy or injure severely. A natural prolongation or projection from a part of an organism, either animal or plant. A bony process. A writ issued by authority of law. Usually compels the defendant's attendance in a civil suit. Failure to appear results in a default judgment against the defendant. Shape, form, or improve a material. Process iron. Deliver a warrant or summons to someone. He was processed by the sheriff. A sustained phenomenon or one marked by gradual changes through a series of states. Events now in process. Institute legal proceedings against. File a suit against. He was warned that the district attorney would process him. March in a procession. They processed into the dining room. A particular course of action intended to achieve a result. It was a process of trial and error. Psychology. The performance of some composite cognitive activity. An operation that affects mental contents. The process of thinking. A mental process that you are not directly aware of. The process of denial. Subject to a process or treatment, with the aim of readying for some purpose, improving, or remedying a condition. Process cheese. Deal with in a routine way. Process alone. Perform mathematical and logical operations on data, according to programmed instructions in order to obtain the required information. The results of the elections were still being processed when he gave his acceptance speech. To show, make visible or apparent. The Metropolitan Museum is exhibiting Goya's works this month. Something shown to the public. The museum had many exhibits of Oriental art. Give an exhibition of to an interested audience. Walk ostentatiously. An object or statement produced before a court of law and referred to while giving evidence. Show an attribute, property, knowledge, or skill. He exhibits a great talent. March in a procession. The veterans paraded down the street. Walk ostentatiously. She parades her new husband around town. A ceremonial procession including people marching. An extended, often showy, succession of persons or things. A parade of strollers on the mall. A visible display. She made a parade of her sorrows. A degree granted for the successful completion of advanced study of architecture. District consisting of the area on either side of a border or boundary of a country or an area. District consisting of the area on either side of a border or boundary of a country or an area. District consisting of the area on either side of a border or boundary of a country or an area. Genre of music written for marching. Provide evidence for, stand as proof of, show by one's behavior, attitude, or external attributes. This decision demonstrates his sense of fairness. Give an exhibition of to an interested audience. Establish the validity of something, as by an example, explanation or experiment. The experiment demonstrated the instability of the compound. March in protest. Take part in a demonstration. Thousands demonstrated against globalization during the meeting of the most powerful economic nations in Seattle. Move forward, also in the metaphorical sense. A person who is in a position to give you special assistance. He used his business contacts to get an introduction to the governor. The physical coming together of two or more things. Contact with the pier scraped paint from the hull. A thin curved glass or plastic lens designed to fit over the cornea in order to correct vision or to deliver medication. Be in or establish communication with. He never contacted his children after he emigrated to Australia. A communicative interaction. The pilot made contact with the base. Be in direct physical contact with, make contact. The wire must not contact the metal cover. A channel for communication between groups. The act of touching physically. Her fingers came in contact with the light switch. Electronics. A junction where things, as two electrical conductors, touch or are in physical contact. They forget to solder the contacts. Close interaction. They kept in daily contact. The state or condition of touching or of being in immediate proximity. Litmus paper turns red on contact with an acid. Contend against an opponent in a sport, game, or battle. Experience as a reaction. Collect in one place. A meeting at which a number of athletic contests are held. Be adjacent or come together. Undergo or suffer. Meet a violent death. Fill, satisfy or meet a want or need or conscience-ro restriction. Does this paper meet the requirements for the degree? Come together. I'll probably see you at the meeting. Be in direct physical contact with, make contact. Being precisely fitting and right. It is only meet that she should be seated first. Get together socially or for a specific purpose. Meet by design. Be present at the arrival of. Can you meet me at the train station? A distinguishing style. This room needs a woman's touch. Make a more or less disguised reference to. Consume. She didn't touch her food all night. The event of something coming in contact with the body. He longed for the touch of her hand. Be relevant to. A suggestion of some quality. There was a touch of sarcasm in his tone. Have an effect upon. The act of putting two things together with no space between them. At his touch the room filled with lights. Be equal to in quality or ability. Your performance doesn't even touch that of your colleagues. A communicative interaction. He got in touch with his colleagues. A slight attack of illness. He has a touch of rheumatism. Affect emotionally. I was touched by your kind letter of sympathy. The faculty by which external objects or forces are perceived through contact with the body, especially the hands. Only sight and touch enable us to locate objects in the space around us. Tamper with. Don't touch my CDs. To extend as far as. The chair must not touch the wall. A slight but appreciable amount. This dish could use a touch of garlic. Be in direct physical contact with. Make contact. The two buildings touch. The sensation produced by pressure receptors in the skin. She likes the touch of silk on her skin. Color lightly. Cause to be in brief contact with. He touched his toes to the horse's flanks. Comprehend. He could not touch the meaning of the poem. Deal with. Usually used with a form of negation. I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. Deftness in handling matters. He has a master's touch. Make physical contact with. Come in contact with. She never touched her husband. Perceive via the tactile sense. Helen Keller felt the physical world by touching people and objects around her. The act of soliciting money, as a gift or loan. He watched the beggar trying to make a touch. The feel of mechanical action. This piano has a wonderful touch. The act of traveling by foot. Walking is a healthy form of exercise. Careers in general. It happens in all walks of life. Take a walk. Go for a walk. Walk for pleasure. The lovers held hands while walking. Manner of walking. He had a funny walk. Baseball. An advance to first base by a batter who receives 4 balls. A path set aside for walking. After the blizzard he shoveled the front walk. Accompany or escort. I'll walk you to your car. A slow gait of a horse in which 2 feet are always on the ground. Be or act in association with. We must walk with our dispossessed brothers and sisters. Give a base on balls to. Live or behave in a specified manner. Walk in sadness. Make walk. He walks the horse up the mountain. Obtain a base on balls. The act of walking somewhere. He took a walk after lunch. Traverse or cover by walking. Paul walked the streets of Damascus. Use one's feet to advance. Advance by steps. We walked instead of driving. Walk at a pace. The horses walked across the meadow. The act of traveling by foot. Walking is a healthy form of exercise. Close enough to be walked to. Walking distance. A month in the Gregorian calendar. An academic degree higher than a bachelor's degree but lower than a doctor's degree. Regulate housing in of certain areas of towns. A region marked off for administrative or other purposes. A region marked off for administrative or other purposes. Dominance or power through legal authority. France held undisputed dominion over vast areas of Africa. One of the self-governing nations in the British Commonwealth. A region marked off for administrative or other purposes. The geographical area under the jurisdiction of a sovereign state. An area of knowledge or interest. His questions covered a lot of territory. A region marked off for administrative or other purposes.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.